Hey, hello, good morning, and welcome. Currently just hack on getting first, and thank you so much for the prime. I appreciate it. I've saved 3 VOD so far for a road trip I'm taking for work soon. Thank you, Small. Thank you. Really? 3 VODs? Holy shit. Where are you going? A work road trip. Interesting. Okay, sick. I get genuinely happy when I was like, I saved 3 VODs. That's just it's something to look forward to and like something to be like, oh, I have this now. I'm like, oh. From Texas to a 5 hour away destination in Texas. Oh shit, Texas to Texas. Let's go. Exotic, exotic. I see it. 5 hours though. Yeah, it's like a work day almost. Sick. Okay, well, I hope it's fun and that you enjoy it. That it's not some annoying bullshit that you have to do and that you hate. Instead, it's I've decided that it's something nice and it's something fun that you will do instead of working and also get paid for. Yeah, that sounds nice, right? So that's how it will be now. The queen dog has chosen to be in our presence today. Let's see how far that goes. Currently, it's pretty dark outside still, so I don't have much better lighting than this, but you know. I get paid to sit in a car and listen to small podcasts, so it will be awesome. Dude, that sounds poggies. Peak work day. And it's a car. Oh, It's not even like a train, a bus, or some shit like that. It's a car. Oh, dude, blessed. Van. Oh, a van. Crazy. Dude, enjoy. Well, then I assume that you will not stay long because of spoilers. But I'm very happy to hear this. It made me very happy. I hope everything goes well. I hope I was nice in the VODs. That you enjoy them. Because now, today, we are starting book 4. Good night. Last time on A Soldier's Life, we read a fanfiction winner, which means that it was the end of book 3, where Castile was told by the hounds, I guess, Constantine and crew, that, yeah, bitch, we're gonna kill the fucking emperor, and you're gonna help us. So now we're starting on book 4, The Hounds. First edition, written by Always Rosa One, Eric Temke. So let's go. And the acknowledgements is the same. We read these, and here we have the maps again of the world of Desia. This tells me nothing because I'm so bad with like maps and shit. But like remembering maps while I read, I was like, no. But it's good to have. It's very good to have. Essenham, I recognize. The Barbadians, the Italian Empire, the biggest. The Bhutan. Okay, let's not read the chapter names for spoilers. And it will be a little shorter today since last book didn't end perfectly on 180, you know. So we're reading 182 to 185. A little bit shorter, I know, but who knows how long these chapters are. It's a new book after all. The Coke, a sippy. And off we go. Chapter 182. Past missteps catching up. The water rushed along the low gunwales of the barge as we glided toward Parvis. All-out war was on the horizon. Oh, right, they're still in the boat after Eric and maybe had catched up with everyone after exiting the labyrinth. I half listened to Adrian explaining my duties to the company when we reached Parvis. He snapped his fingers to get my attention. Eric, focus. Delmar did that well. You drift off into your mind too often. If you want, I can have Linus take your place. It wasn't a threat, more of a question. No, I'm fine. You were saying that Octavian's son rules the city, and we want to keep a low profile when we arrive. Then summarized the last few minutes of his lecture. Adrian nodded. Yes. Hopefully, there will be enough confusion with all the soldiers and legionnaires passing through, and we can get into the portal and to the capital. Castile wants to report directly to the Legatus Legonis office in the capital, rather than send a report through the office in Parvis, where other eyes may read it. We then spent 2 more hours reviewing the procedures for requisitioning food and supplies for the company, collecting payroll to distribute, and filling out equipment replacement requests. I forgot half of what Adrian was saying and regretted accepting Delmar's duties. The sail barge turned into the bend of the wide river, and small waves reached the rails, causing curses from the soldiers who had been lounging on the rails. Our men in the bow managed to stand quickly, but still had their boots soaked. I could see Firth smirking at the soldiers who got the worst of it. He probably could have warned them it was coming, but preferred to watch the distress it created for the young soldiers. The river was starting to become crowded with fishing boats, other barges, and even a grey-haired mage crossing to the opposite bank on top of a waterspout. The mage was not in Legion colors, so he was likely a civilian. The docks came into view, and murmurs of relief came from the company. Many of the men thought they were not going to survive this last assignment. The docks were crowded with soldiers and workers, and the occasional flash of red of a legionnaire's armor or cloak. Castile was in front of me, and I could sense her nervousness. The bargemen expertly guided our craft to the shelter of the docks. Even before they tied off, the captain of the soldiers was ordering them into ranks. Body shields, pylons, and packs were gathered in a noisy and haphazard fashion. Most of the men looked like they had not even started shaving yet. Some had excitement in their eyes, but the smart ones had a fear of the reality of the service. Fortunately for them, they were reinforcing the city, so the more experienced soldiers in Parvis could be sent west to reinforce Macha. We remained on the barge until they were all disembarked. Castile left to check into a small inn nearby, with her hood pulled tightly over her head. She didn't want to be seen or recognized. Adrian turned on the men. "Wait here. I will report to the city's Legion Hall and get our orders," he whispered to me. "Keep everyone on board." Then Adrian disappeared into the press of people and soldiers on the docks. Constantine stepped off a moment later, and I made to stop him. "Constantine, everyone needs to remain aboard," I said firmly. "I don't feel like shitting over the rails. I will only be a moment." He grinned at me and walked away, disappearing into the press as well. "Dude, Eric, do something." As he stepped off, Firth clapped me on the back. "You are doing great, Eric. I'm just gonna visit a woman friend of mine at the brothel just down the way. Shouldn't take too long to remake her acquaintance." He turned and winked at the men. "Well, maybe I might have to get reacquainted a few times." And Firth was gone too. Eric, what the fuck? How the hell was I supposed to keep everyone else on the barge? Brutus stood and looked ready to leave too. Our relationship had frayed considerably. "Maybe I roused to Goliath, and his bald head rose from the deck and snapped his attention to me. "No one else leaves the barge. If they do, dunk them in the river. You couldn't swim in armor, so they might drown if you just tossed them." Mayvitt's large frame stood with a nod and moved to the rails to block anyone else from leaving. Brutus sat down but did not look happy. A brief glare at me before looking away. I could see the faces of the men eager to get back into the normalcy of a city after the ordeal in the dungeon. Hopefully, we would be back in the capital soon enough. I turned to the docks, picking out the most honest-looking worker I could find, and called him over. I handed him 2 large silver coins. Food and ale for the company from the best tavern nearby. He looked confused at the 20 silver, and I thought he just might run off with it. "1 coin is for you, and the other is for the ale and food." I assumed 10 silver was about close to a month's wages for the man. His eyes went large, and he nodded, accepting the quest. The quest. He yelled at another worker. "Pete, I need some help carrying ale and food from Poor Advice." Poor Advice. "A silver in it for ya." He winked at me conspiratorially. The man named Pete dropped the crate he was carrying with a thud on the dock, and they headed off at a brisk walk. My fear that they would run off with the coin was unfounded, as they returned with stacks of large bowls of thick stew and pitchers of ale. It took them 3 trips to get everyone fed. I doubted everything they brought cost more than 5 silver in total, but at least they kept everyone else on the barge and somewhat happy. When everyone finished, Pete returned the empty pitchers and bowls to the tavern. Damn, they even stood and waited? That's crazy. I mean, they did get a lot of money, but damn. Adrian returned briefly but went to talk with Castile in the nearby inn before coming to me. He talked to Castile for over an hour before boarding the barge late in the afternoon. Adrian settled on the barge beside me. "The Legion Hall is swamped. There is no room for us, and there is vast confusion with companies and squads being shifted all across the Empire to respond to threats. The good news is the portal to the capital is opening at midnight. We should be gone before the Count knows we are here." I logged our men and the Goliath for the portal. He looked at the men lounging and took inventory. "Where is Firth, Eric?" His tone was slightly alarmed. Constantine and Firth took off even though I ordered them not to, I reported tersely. Do something then. Dragon shit. I told you to keep everyone on board. His tone softened in understanding. It can't be helped now. Hopefully they return before we march for the portal, and nothing ill-fated comes of their absence. I found being in command sucked, especially when the men did not listen to me. Oh. As night set on the city, the dogs thinned and quieted. Firth returned, drunk and rambling about the pleasures of the flesh. Ugh. The pleasures of the flesh is so disgusting. No. Just before midnight and waking people up inconsiderately. Adrian went and got Castile, and the company formed up to march to the portal gate. Castile did not seem aware that Constantine was missing as we moved through the city. She was more concerned with the citizens taking note of our movement. Maybe its size and exotic appearance drew a lot of stares as well. The portal square had several empty carts drawn by mules, and a few covered carts with goods as a light, misty rain fell. Wait, so I don't remember exactly how it was in the Castile POV chapter, but I assume that she has been now and talked with Constantine, and she had all that talk already, so she knows where Constantine is. I assume that's what have happened, because it can't be past, that has to have been happening now. Adrian was to my right and indicated. Most of the war supplies are funneled to the capital and distributed through the portals from there. These carts arrived this morning, were unloaded, and are now headed back to the capital to be restocked. I learned of the portal opening by talking to a teamster at the Legion Hall. Parvis is a good distance from Macha, so most of the supplies are provisions. It is as we feared, and famine is sweeping the Empire. You can rest assured the soldiers will be fed, though. The displacement mage arrived and looked haggard as if he had been overworked with drawing ether. His sunken eyes looked us over and frowned on seeing our company. He talked to one of his legionnaire guards, who jogged to talk to Castile. Mage Jasper wants to let you know, Mage Commander, that he cannot hold the portal long. I feel like Mage Jasper, we've heard that before? He suggests you get to the front of the line if you want to ensure your entire company gets through. Thank Mage Jasper for me, Castile said with a curt nod. Adrian ordered the men to the front, and when the portal opened, we were the first ones through. I was shocked to find Constantine standing with us when we arrived. When had he rejoined us? When I noticed him, he gave me a small nod and smirked at my surprise. He teleports. The legionnaires guarding the portal in the capital had doubled from my first visit. For some reason, as fast as it said, Constantine was just there, then I immediately got the thought of, Hermione from Harry Potter when she has the thingy that turns... not that turns time. It does turn time, no? But that so she can take multiple classes at once or some shit. And I was like, Constantine has one of those. The legionnaires guarding the portal in the capital had doubled from my first visit. I was worried about Maviant, but Castile already had a writ ready and passed it to a legionnaire in polished steel red lacquered armor. He read it a few times before nodding. A hand signal from him had the archers surrounding the pit at ease, and we were allowed to leave. I guessed only half of the wagons had passed before the portal closed. Castile addressed Adrian and me. Get the company settled in the Eastern Legion Hall, while I report to the Legatus Legonis office. Okay, maybe she's doing it now then. Castile then hurried off, leaving the company to report our absence. We had a loose formation as we moved through the city at night. In a way, our late arrival made it easier to get to the hall, without numerous eyes on us. Maybe its head was snapping around at the sight as we walked. It is larger than I imagined. I can't believe they use so many glowstones to light the city at night. It reminds me of Eternis back home. Matteo chirped from behind us. Just the upper city, maybe. The lower city barely has any lighting besides a few oil lamps. You need to stay away from the alleys down there. Lurkin quipped. They tried putting glowstones in the lower city, but they were getting stolen faster than they could be replaced. The men then discussed the incident that had occurred some 100 years ago, each story become more fantastical. Adrian did not make an effort to stop them, so neither did I. The familiar Legion Hall came into view, and Adrian swore as he looked over the men. For Pluto's knife, where are Constantine and Firth? It wasn't my turn to babysit them, I said reflexively. Adrian did not look amused by my comment, so I shut up. We approached the desk together, and an old man looked up. Adrian addressed him. One mage company with 13 legionnaires and one contracted Goliath. The man looked over, surprised, and quickly found Mavius in the group, his eyes widening. He grunted. Bunk room 7. Bunk room 7 does not have circulated hot air and would be cold this time of year. Is bunk room 2 available? The one over the kitchens? Adrian requested politely. The man seemed unhappy but nodded. It is empty. Fill your rolls here, he said, sliding a piece of paper toward Adrian, who then handed it to me. Eric, get the men clean and settled. Turn in the requisition forms for food and gear. I want everyone equipped and ready for a week on the road by tomorrow in case we need to march. He produced a heavy pouch. 40 large dungeon silvers. You may need to pay to have any lost gear replaced. Adrian turned and left the Legion Hall before I could ask a question. I guessed he was off to support Castile. The eyes of the men looked expectantly at me for direction. Wake the boy attendants for the baths, I directed the old man, who grunted but left to get them. I ordered the company. Bunk room 2, but I want everyone bathed and clean before you settle in for the night. The exhausted men moved slowly as they made their way to the baths. I had to go to the storage room and wake the attendants there. They were unhappy at being woken at the late hour, but I had my duties. I had the boys bring the men's pack to the resupply warehouse. I had my list of equipment that needed replacing and what we needed to get the men's pack set for a week. My own salvaged armor was in need of adjustments as I was constantly healing chafe marks. We went through each pack one at a time, repacking it with a full kit. I was learning a lot about my fellow legionnaires going through their packs. It was also not a speedy process as I had to argue with the attendants about what I would have to pay to replace. The bureaucracy was good enough to note Castile's punishment was still in effect regarding our company. Generally, any worn or damaged gear was replaced without cost, but if a legionnaire lost their gear, it would be added to their debt or deducted from future pay. Our company was already marked from Matcha, which is why I thought they were giving me a double hard time. The hours started to stack, and soon the light of the morning showed through the windows. When all was said and done, the silver Adrian had given me did not cover all the replacement gear, and I had to pull another 7 large silver pieces from my own stores to get the men completely outfitted. My hand was also cramped from all the paperwork. I had the sleepy boys drop the packs and replacement pieces of armor off in bunk room 2. I had my own appointment with the baths. 2 younger boys were cleaning the bath, and the company had long since retired. I gave the poor lads my armor to clean and asked for all new undergarments. I had to pay for them, but it would be worth it. I fell asleep in the hot, soaking tub. A splash of water in my face woke me up, and I saw the naked Firth entering the pool. He grinned as he relaxed into the lightly steaming water across from me. Where did you wander off to? I asked, not really wanting to know. Needed to scratch an itch, he said glibly. Glibly? Didn't you scratch that itch in Parvis? I retorted, shaking my head. He shrugged, smiling deviously. Sometimes the more you scratch, the more you itch. Is Castile back yet? I shook my head no, and we settled into an awkward silence. Constantine and Adrian entered the baths loudly and started stripping, giving the exhausted boy attendants more work. Constantine's pack was the only one I had not had access to restock. Willie had Firth's pack, and Lurkin had taken Adrian's. We just got back from the Legatus Lagonis. Castile is resting across from our bunk room upstairs, Adrian informed me. He looked distracted and not too happy to see Firth here. Firth's eyes narrowed at Constantine. Why were you with Castile? I was requested to confirm Castile's report on the shimmering labyrinth, Constantine said plainly, as he started scrubbing under the cold shower. Silence settled, and soon after, all 4 of us were in the hot, soaking tub. Firth broke the silence. Do we have any orders then? Or will the men be questioned by the truth seekers? I hid my tension at the question. Adrian answered, still seemingly distracted. We have orders, but have been granted a week's rest. A week! There has to be an accounting of the runic weapons we claimed from Kaelora. We are forfeiting the reward for discovering the dungeon, but the men will each get to retain their runic weapons. With so many runic weapons among the men, I thought the company might become the target of first citizens or other unscrupulous individuals. I didn't ask about other dungeon artifacts they recovered, and eyed my own pack nearby. I had packed it myself in the supply room, and at the bottom of it were the summoner's belt, rings, and robes. One of those items had resisted being placed in my dimensional space. What are our orders then? Firth asked impatiently. Adrian capitulated, but it was clear he didn't like Firth. Is there anyone who does? We are 13, and Castile is not allowed to replace our lost. There is a chance we will be escort a magistrate, looking for potential mages, but we could also be sent to the war front for skirmishes. We will have to wait for orders. Firth grunted, seemingly surprised. Constantine noted sagely. It makes sense they're starting the testing cycle months early with the flames of war heating up. They want to find as many mages as possible to train. An attendant returned with my new clothes, and I rose from the hot tub, my skin sufficiently pruned. I dressed and packed my things to find my way to bunk room 2. It had 30 beds, but most were unoccupied. I paused, realizing we had lost so many men, so many companions and friends. The room was warm and smelled of baked bread from the kitchens below. I moved as quietly as possible to settle into a free, dense, fine straw mattress. It was mid-morning, but I still needed a few hours of sleep, even with the ring of sustenance. I drifted off. My bed shook strongly to wake me. Adrian was standing over me in just his underclothes, alarm on his face. Wake up, Eric. Count Cassius Cato, First Citizen Justin Cicero, and First Citizen Boris Angela have required your attendance at Cato's villa in the upper city. Justin Cicero, fucked off. He's the Griffin, the first dungeon boy, right? The bitch. My mind came away quickly at the urgency in Adrian's voice. Dress quickly and I will go wake Castile. I recognized the two first citizens, but not the Count. This could only be in regard to one thing. The Dreamscape amulet. Oh, bitch, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. I want to keep it, though. Chapter 183. The Empire's Corruption. Even with the men still exhausted, they were strapping on their armor, getting ready to join me. I was fully rested and slightly surprised I had slept nearly 5 hours with the ring active. My companions were grumbling and making obsequious remarks regarding the first citizen's greed. The grumbling and noise of activity stopped when Castile appeared in the doorway with Adrian. Stop! I will be the only one going with Eric. Everyone went silent to face Castile in her knight's shirt, and she motioned for me to join her. I moved into the hallway with Adrian and Castile. She held out her hand expectantly to Adrian. Do you have the audience request? Adrian handed Castile a heavy parchment, and she crumbled it after reading it. She stared straight ahead, thinking. Already in his armor, Constantine came into the hallway. Castile, I think I have a solution. Give me an hour. Castile's eyes focused on Constantine, and silent communication passed between them. Go, she hissed, not liking whatever aid he was offering but accepting it. Constantine belted his blade and took off at a jog. I watched the old scout jog away, wondering what that was about. Adrian broke the stressful moment. Why is Count Cato requesting an audience with Eric? Count Cassius Cato is going to request Eric into his service, Castile said, irritated. Oh, yeah, okay. So it's not about the amulet. And who the fuck is this Count? Just send him a letter saying I decline. Problem solved, I shrugged, thinking this situation was not as bad as I had thought. Castile shook her head mournfully. It is not that easy. They are clearly after the amulet if First Citizen Boris is involved. Oh, nay. Boris is the fucking brother to, Veronica? Victoria? Duchess Veronica, no? Oh, bitch ass. The one we had to fight for the blade, with the swords and shit. Oh. Foolish to put his name on the request, alerting us, but he is an arrogant pixie prick. My guess is Count Cato is going to make you a tempting offer to join his service, then force you to turn over the amulet. She locked her eyes on mine and added seriously, or just kill you for it. I'm guessing that is the fate First Citizen Boris has for you after you embarrassed him in the duel. My past sins were haunting me. I should have accidentally killed Boris in the duel. I could give you the amulet to hold, I offered. That was the last thing I wanted. The Scorpion Room housed my Dreamscape library and the people I had recreated. even hidden behind a wall. Castile would eventually find it if she used the amulet every night, but she now knew most of my secrets. Castile laughed mirthfully. I have too many favors I owe to powerful people. That amulet would be called on to pay any number of debts. Unbelievably, it is safer with you. Do you know anything about Count Cassius Cato? I think his citadel is in the city of Pambarrel. He must have fled to his villa in the capital when Essenham took the Isle of Amatalos. Castile waited for Adrian's reply. The nobles of the Italian Empire were divided into dukes, counts, barons, and first citizens. Dukes ran entire provinces and had substantial power. Counts ran the large cities and reported to the province's duke. Barons ran regions within the province with small cities and towns and drove the economy of the empire. Adrian shrugged helplessly. I don't know the count. Pambarrel is the coastal city. I'm guessing he made a decision for self-preservation between the orcs and the elves likely to invade the mainland. Castile was in night clothes that hugged her thin frame. Her health had suffered with us in Caelora, and she had not fully recovered. You cannot refuse the summons of a first citizen, so we have to go, Eric. Hopefully, Constantine's plan is viable. She grimaced slightly, obviously knowing something she did not share. I assumed it had to do with his Praetorian master. Adrian asked, concerned. What do you want me to tell the soldiers waiting to escort Eric? Castile thought and smirked, looking at me. Tell them Eric is bathing. He does not want to be dirty for his audience. It will be an hour or so. Adrian grinned, nodding, and headed to the lobby to delay our departure. Castile snapped her fingers. With me, Eric. I followed Castile to her room down the hall. She began changing into her clean travel clothes. As she changed, I averted my eyes. She asked, If you want this all to go away, you can just give away the amulet. Even if Constantine succeeds, there will be others seeking your artifact. Castile was right. It was also an invaluable tool that I was underutilizing. I don't want to give it up, I admitted. Castile nodded, accepting my decision, and she finished dressing, ready to accompany me. I will do what I can, but I do not have much power when it comes to the first citizens. Constantine's Praetorian master is not a first citizen either. Oh, really? I don't know what she thinks she can do. Your best recourse may be to sell it and get what you can for it. Castile advised seriously. Otherwise, you will always be looking over your shoulder for First Citizen Boris Angela's retribution. My blood started to boil at the helplessness I was feeling. I tried to calm down. Why is Justin Cicero in the audience request? He and Boris Angela are friends. Of course they are. I learned that from Duchess Veronica. Count Cato is Boris's uncle. At least I think that is correct. They are related somehow, like every first citizen. They probably solicited his help to put weight behind their request. If we had time, we could summon Duchess Veronica to the capital, but there is no portal in Sobral, and it would take her weeks to get here. Castile sat on her bed, patiently fixing her hair into a bun. Adrian came up 15 minutes later. They are getting aggravated. Castile nodded and stood. Wet your hair, Eric. Adrian, tell them we are coming. I went to a pitcher nearby and sniffed it before using it to wet my hair. That done, I stood, and Castile walked slowly downstairs with me. 6 soldiers waited in the lobby of the Legion Hall, with a very irate-looking magistrate in pristine white robes. I was guessing the magistrate was here to make this official. Adrian nodded to Castile as the soldiers boxed us in and escorted us out of the hall to the villa. We couldn't talk openly, but walked slowly, forcing the impatient magistrate to walk at our pace. Castile asked, Why is an imperial magistrate assigned to escort a lowly legionnaire to a summons by a count? The magistrate looked constipated. 2 first citizens have accused your legionnaire of stealing from them. The count is supporting their claims. Castile missed a step, and I started to have flashbacks of how I had been forced into joining the Legion when I arrived in the world. In the world. Castile slowly asked, Which first citizens and which items are they claiming he has stolen? Yeah, I didn't steal any first citizens. The magistrate slowed and pulled out a scroll and read it. First citizen Justin Cicero claims Legionnaire Eric Marco was tasked with carrying his adventuring gear and retained it rather than having it sent to his estate. First citizen Boris Angela claims you unjustly took his family's sword in combat and are in possession of an artifact that rightly belongs to him. Castile processed the words. We should go to a truth seeker to clear this up. The first citizen lost his family's blade in a fair contest witnessed by Duchess Veronica. He has no right to the artifact. Whatever the value of the equipment Justice Cicero claims, I will pay double for his trouble. The magistrate was obviously not happy about the use of his time, but continued on. There is already a truth seeker at the villa. This will all be cleared up shortly. If your legionnaire is innocent, he will be on his way in short order. Castile cursed under her breath and whispered to me, I doubt they're going to limit their questions. Most likely the truth seeker is an ally of the Count. She addressed the magistrate. Can my legionnaire get a magistrate to represent him? The magistrate rolled his eyes. If he's found guilty, we can proceed with a formal trial if you wish, Mage Commander. That seemed to silence Castile as we walked to the upper city. The tightly packed row of villas outside the imperial palace walls gave the appearance of the nobles squeezing their secondary residences together to get as close to the emperor's palace as possible. Some villas had a pair of legionnaires outside, and some had house guards. We stopped at a villa a good distance from the walls of the palace grounds. This seemed to indicate the Count didn't have a lot of standing within the empire. We climbed the steps and passed two more guards flanking the door. The lead guard of our escort took us to the back of the villa. The outside of the villa had not been impressive, but the interior was extravagant, with polished marble and colorful paintings, many of them lewd in nature. We entered a formal dining room. Boris and Justin were seated smugly, flanking an older man at the head of the table. The familiar white and gold robes of an imperial truth seeker stood behind the Count. The truth seeker was a woman with age lines on her impassive face. The fact that she was not seated at the table was sending alarm bells in my mind. She was standing in indifference to the Count. All 6 guards remained, moving to stand along the room's walls, blocking an easy exit for us. The Count smiled cruelly. Mage Castile, your reputation precedes you. I only requested the presence of your foreign legionnaire. The charges are quite serious. I would be willing to dismiss them if he agrees to a term of service in my household for the remainder of his term. Castile clenched her fist. He will answer your questions, and we will be on our way. He has not stolen anything from these first citizens. Justin made to talk, but the Count looked him down, and he remained silent. Yeah, shut the fuck up, bitch. The truth seeker took the cue to begin and asked me, Do you wear the black blade of House Angela on your hip, legionnaire? I looked at Castile, who was staring at the truth seeker, her eyes furious. I answered the truth seeker. No, the blade is mine. The truth seeker shook her head slowly in disappointment. He lies. Castile gritted her teeth. There was no spell form active. She's not discerning the truth. The Count smiled broadly. Are you questioning the integrity of an imperial truth seeker? The magistrate had sat next to grinning Justin Cicero, and my heart began to sink. This whole thing was a sham, inquisition. Yeah, no shit. But I didn't thought they would be this bitchy. It didn't matter if I told the truth. Even if we eventually got before the truth seekers who were not corrupt, I was guessing this little session was designed to get both the runic blade and amulet, and then I would never see either again. Castile seemed to sense the trap as well. She pulled herself back and considered her response. I looked at the soldiers in the room. They all had their hands hovering near their blades, ready to react. I was guessing the Count, Truth Seeker, and maybe the Magistrate had access to a few spell forms. I had no choice but to follow Castile's lead. Castile addressed the Truth Seeker. Are you Selena Cato, Count Cato's sister? The Truth Seeker's eyebrow went up in surprise. I am surprised you know of me. I am flattered, Mage Castile. She wore a thin smile. I wanted to wipe the smug smile off the Truth Seeker's face and then remove the heads of the grinning Justin and Boris. My hand drifted to my hip and the guards tensed. The first citizens just smiled, maybe expecting my reaction. A reason to kill me now and speed this along. A commotion back in the villa had a pair of guards leave the room. Had the company come to rescue us? A few moments later, a very angry woman yelled, Move out of my way! Do not dare to touch my robes! High Mage Cinna came storming into the room. Oh, yes, save me. Her dark blue robes rolled around her like flowing waves. Castile's shock only matched the Count's own disbelief. The Count stood and bowed. Chancellor Cinna, what brings you to my humble villa? The fire mage looked angry as she surveyed everyone present. Her eyes narrowed at both the truth seeker and the magistrate. She quickly puzzled out what was happening. She addressed them. I heard my legionnaire bodyguard was summoned to answer for crimes without notifying me. The count stumbled with his words. You are mistaken, Chancellor. This legionnaire is in the service of Mage Castile. Cinna tersely countered him. You are mistaken. She transferred him to my service when I joined her to hunt Traeliorn Kelren. I never returned his service back to her. He is mine. Oh my god. She relaxed and smiled. Take me. Going from belligerent to sweet in a blink of an eye. You can check the official records to confirm it. High Mage Cinna took the seat at the other end of the table and crossed her left leg over the right. I can wait. Oh my god, dude. Cinna. I love you. The truth seeker was the first to gain enough courage to talk. We are only questioning the veracity of the legionnaire's claim to his possessions. Proceed then, Cinna said with a hard smile as she slammed a black sphere on the table, leaving a dent in the expensive-looking wood surface. It was the same sphere that the truth seeker had produced during my questioning after Matcha. The truth seeker seemed uncertain but finally asked, Legionnaire, do you have a dreamscape amulet in your possession? The sphere on the table glowed, and I assumed it allowed Cinna to make sure the truth seeker was actually using her magic. He does not, Cinna said patiently and held out her hand to me. It is my dreamscape amulet, and he was holding it for me. Her palm was face up, and I thought she wanted me to hand her the dreamscape amulet. I looked to Castile for direction, and she gave me a slight but uncertain nod. She was just as much in the dark as what was going on. Reluctantly, I produced the amulet and placed it in Cinna's hand. It disappeared into her pocket. Anything else? Cinna's expression was smug, as if she had just won a victory. The truth seeker anxiously looked to the count for direction, but he was still stunned by Cinna's appearance. There is the matter of the first citizen's equipment. A large gold coin was tossed on the table and rolled toward the count. No one moved as it stopped and spun in place in front of Justin. More than fair compensation for equipment he most likely abandoned, Cinna said flatly. Oof. The truth seeker was looking for help from the others, but no one aided her, and I think they were afraid of Chancellor Cinna. The truth seeker meekly started to speak. The runic weapons of the Angela family. Castile interrupted. Legionnaire Eric won the 2 runic weapons in combat, and Duchess Veronica confirmed the results of the duel herself. You can confirm with her with a message sending. The 3rd blade was lost in the undercity of Kaelora. You can go claim it yourself. The veins on Boris Angela's neck and forehead bulged in anger as he saw everything slipping away. It appears all the charges have been found invalid, Magistrate Dominic Cato. You will have the charges dismissed and logged as found less, and note that the matter is closed. We had to wait while the magistrate produced and signed the prepared papers. It was clear they were fearful of the High Fire Mage. High Mage Cinna confirmed the documents and took them with her as she stood. She paused in the doorway, looking directly at me. Come, Legionnaire, you're still in my service. Okay, bye. I looked at Castile, who seemed at a loss, but we both moved with Cinna, her blue robes flowing in front of us. When we reached the street, Cinna slowed down into a comfortable walk. Castile asked, Why are you a chancellor, and what is going on? Cinna's wise face smiled as people moved out of her way as we walked, giving us a wide berth. I am the new chancellor of the Mage War College and report directly to the Emperor. You returned to the Mage College, but why did you help us? Castile pressed for answers. A mutual friend asked me to intercede, Cinna said haughtily. I assumed she was referring to Constantine. I guess the old man had come through, and I would have to thank him. But I still had lost the Dreamscape amulet. Right, Constantine was a teacher, no? Before? Yeah. We followed Cinna as she walked, the press of people parting like the Red Sea as we proceeded to an impressive building just outside the Imperial Palace walls. Legionnaires in polished armor guarded the gates, and they bowed to Cinna as we climbed the steps. It didn't take me long to realize that this impressive structure was the Mage College. We climbed pearly white marble floors while young men and women in robes rushed up and down the stairs. We proceeded deep into the massive college with impressive high ceilings and wide hallways. We climbed a large circular staircase, ascending a large tower on the corner of the campus. As we climbed the steps, Cinna finally spoke. I am going to retain your services, Legionnaire. You will serve as my bodyguard while I am stuck as Chancellor at the War College. Huh? Castile objected weakly. Eric is an important member of my company, Chancellor Cinna. Do not worry. I have a porter in mind to replace him. Oi. We reached the landing and Cinna looked down the corridor, slightly confused. I think my chambers are this way. She walked a little uncertainly and stopped at a wide dark blue door. It has been a while since I used these stairs. She smiled, opening the door. Inside was a large, comfortable common room with couches. Near a tall window was a familiar man in red leather resin armor. Constantine was staring down out the window and slowly turned as we entered the room. He gave me a small, reassuring nod. What the fuck? You really need to have someone clean your chambers. A dark-haired woman with streaks of gray sat in a comfortable seat, ran her finger across the surface of the end table, and showed the layer of dust on it. I just took over the chancellorship last night, Antonia. This suite has not been used in decades, Cinna said with a note of exasperation. The seated woman must be Antonia Segredo, Constantine's Praetorian master. She cleaned her finger on the cushion. Yes, well, I can send you a few maids. No need. I will find some mage aspirants in need of discipline to clean the apartment, Cinna replied with a smile. She moved to sit across from Antonia, causing a cloud of dust to puff into the air. Antonia shrugged, and her focus turned to me. She seemed to be considering me for a long time until I started to feel uncomfortable. Her next words did not assuage my discomfort. So this is the other worlder. Everyone knows now. What the fuck? Oh my god, okay. I mean, I like this. I want this to happen. I mean, it was bound to happen. Damn, okay. Kinky? What is happening here? Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm. Getting boned. Chapter 184. Getting boned. I'll drink to that. Antonia Segredo relaxed and seemed to enjoy my discomfort at her knowledge of my origins. I looked to Castile for help, but she had an impassive expression and was unlikely to aid me. Antonia finally spoke, breaking the tense silence. He does not look like much. I think he might prove more of a liability for our plans. Don't scare the boy. He might do something you will regret, Antonia, Constantine said, irritated and walking casually away from the window. Antonia smiled with some mirth. If he is so dangerous, Constantine, then why did I learn he was an otherworlder only an hour ago? That statement was somewhat reassuring that Constantine had kept my secret. But how long Constantine had known I was an otherworlder was another question for another time. Constantine stated in a relaxed tone. I was only tasked with keeping Castile alive. She is alive, and I have given you much more in my service. He gestured respectfully at the quiet Castile. Antonia pursed her lips in distaste. I would have preferred to learn of the ruins of Atlantium sooner. She focused on Constantine and then on me. It makes me wonder what else you might be withholding. She turned to me. Fine. He might be useful. What do you have in mind for him? Constantine leaned on a table that squeaked slightly as I shifted on the floor. He can handle the secondary archives when it is time. Antonia hissed, annoyed. Revealing our plans in the open. High Mage Cinna interrupted. This room is secure. I installed the array myself last time I served as the Chancellor of the War College and used this suite. Her penetrating gaze studied me. I agree. I think he can do it. Cornelius was looking for someone capable. I think this otherworlder is a good choice. She smiled reassuringly at me. Antonia's eyes appraised me again. You would bet all our lives on an unknown entity. Antonia shifted uncomfortably in her seat to look at me better. He has killed a manticore and wyverns on his own and survived deep in the shimmering labyrinth. The boy is more than what he seems. Constantine addressed Antonia seriously and with praise. I must be dreaming if Constantine was praising me openly. I felt the need to say something as they were discussing my fate, as if I was not here. I prefer not to be called a boy. I'm 26. Antonia waved. Is that the first time he said, he's 26? Maybe he has before. Antonia waved, dismissing my words with her hands as if I did not factor into her decision. We will only get one chance to place someone in the archives, she continued. I'm not sure this one is our best bet. Castile stepped forward. No, he is. It will fulfill one of the conditions we set for my aid. Let's see where my dog is. With my feet. Just can't see her. All good. Antonia seemed to be weighing her options. She clicked her tongue. Fine. If he missteps, then we can cut our losses. I was not sure, but I think she just said they would kill me if I didn't play along. Constantine clapped the table in apparent excitement. I will go tell Cornelius. The next class of hounds should be assembled in a few months. In the meantime, he can serve as my bodyguard at the Mage College to shield him from the first citizens, Cinna said, giving me a wink and an encouraging smile. Why did that smile send chills through me? I looked at those assembled, and they seemed to think that I was going to do whatever they wanted. I was getting frustrated being in the dark as everything was being hinted at. I needed some bargaining power and control. What is this task with the archives? I asked firmly. Antonia sighed and committed to bringing me in. The archives are where they store blood samples of the Empire's mages. I looked at Castile as she told me something slightly different. I thought there were 2 archives. Antonia nodded, sighed, and started explaining as she would to a child. There are. One of the archive vaults is in the Imperial Palace. The other is known only to the Emperor and guarded by an elite group of the hounds under the command of Centurion Sergius. That's how you speak to a child. So you want me to infiltrate the hounds and steal the blood samples of Castile? I asked skeptically. I doubted I would last long in front of a truth seeker when questioned about my role in this conspiracy. Antonia laughed. No, not just Castile. I have a list, but it is much too early for that. We have agents in the palace who will handle the archives there at the same time. I recalled the conversation I had with Castile regarding the blood archives. Why would I care to risk my life? I thought the second archives only had blood samples from mages. It was nothing to do with me. High Mage Cinna produced the Dreamscape amulet and walked it over to me. Yes, mages and every first citizen. There are more things going on here than you need to be made aware of at the moment. She placed the amulet in my hand, closed my fingers around it, returning it to me. In doing this task, you will be earning your own freedom, Otherworlder. Your blood sample will be purged from the Imperial archives, and you will be released from service. Antonia was apparently in charge of this plot and stated, You are coming late to the game, Otherworlder. How long have you been in Desia? On Desia. Desia was the name of this planet. Ah, right, okay. I shifted uneasily, considering my answer, but Castile spoke for me. He arrived shortly before joining the Legion. His spatial spell form is impressive. He can heal himself somewhat and create a weak air shield. Was Castile downplaying my abilities in front of Antonia, or was I less special than I thought? Aww. Castile added after Antonia nodded, impressed. He has a tiny ether pool and a terrible ether shaping skills. He will never cast a true spell. I was going to object to having my ether pool called tiny. Adequate would have been a better word, but remained silent. Antonia considered. Still, 3 extremely useful utility spell forms. He will do well in the hounds. Who else did you arrive with, Otherworlder? I hesitated but decided on the truth. I arrived alone. I fell asleep in a barn and woke up in another barn on your planet. Is it true there is no magic where you are from? Cinna asked curiously. The first question anyone had asked regarding Earth. Ooh, interesting. Antonia furrowed her brow. You can satiate your curiosity later with him, Cinna. She addressed me. Where did you arrive? I have never heard of an Otherworlder appearing alone. There are others? I asked hopefully, thinking maybe there were people from Earth. Others. You are the first human I am aware of in over 200 years, but the world is bigger than the Telian Empire, Otherworlder. The last appearance in the Empire's border was 17 elves some 30 years ago on the western coast. They arrived together naked on the shores. They were subdued and imprisoned in the cells under the palace. To my knowledge, none live today. Antonia waited for me to ask a question, but I inferred that the elves had been harvested for their essences by the Emperor. Seeing a chance at some information, I inquired, "Are there more otherworlders than just humans and elves?" Senna answered my question with patience. "Yes, I think each race on Destia comes from a different planet in the cosmos." Oh. Antonia interrupted Cinna as they competed on who was more knowledgeable. "There has been no recorded halfling arrival, or that of a number of the beastkin races as well, but our records are limited with our poor diplomatic relations with the other nations." Antonia rose and walked to the door resolutely. "I cannot say. No matter how fascinating this conversation would be, I will send the bone etcher for Castile and the Otherworlder." Cinna winced at the mention of the bone etcher, and Antonia left the room with a purpose in her step. With her departure, the tension evaporated from the room. Cinna spoke first. "She's juggling the fate of the Empire in her hands. She thinks she can save the Empire, but in the end she may destroy it." I asked a question of Cinna. "What is the bone etcher?" Cinna winced again at the name. "He is a master rune inscriber. He can inscribe spell forms on a person's bones, giving them permanent spell forms." Oy. I could see why she had winced if she had been given such a treatment. "What runes?" Castile asked nervously. "Simple truth runes. No matter what you speak, it will ring as true to a truth seeker." I want it! "Even their attunement spheres will not detect the runes inside your body. Everything you say will register as true under their spell forms," Cinna explained. "It is how we have operated undetected for so long." Castile seemed shocked. "How many of you are there?" Cinna shook her head. "You will only be made aware of those you need to know about. Antonia pulls the strings and is the only one who is aware of everyone involved." My eyes widened at the truth they were imparting to me. I may be putting myself in more danger by agreeing to participate. This is actually crazy. I thought it was just like Castile, like, of course there could be others, but I thought it was just like a Castile thing. It's like, I don't want this anymore, I want to leave. And it's like, okay, not that there was a whole fucking operation. A soft knock at the door had us pause, and the red-haired Cinna rose and opened the door. A short man in a mask stood in the hallway and scanned the room. The mask appeared to be made from bone with a poorly proportioned face drawn on it. "Two?" he rasped in a monotone. Cinna nodded. "Just two. I have some endless dark centipede toxin I can use to incapacitate them while you work. If they want to watch, that is fine. I have a supply of oblivion pills as well." His dry, monotone voice came through the mask as indifferent. Did I really want to watch someone cut open my arms to get to the bone and then chisel a spell form on them? The short answer was, not really. Hey, Egron. It's going good. The puppy is doing well as well. She had been sleeping like right up until kind of now. And now when I said hey, she reacted. Welcome. We're reading. Yeah. Oh, hello. Did you wake up now? Yeah. But you have to survive a little bit longer. Beep. Was not really. I looked at Castile to see what she would do. She was rolling up her sleeves, and I guessed I couldn't be the wimp. I volunteered. "I will go first and just a toxin." The bone etcher's black irises eyes behind the mask appraised me, but eventually indicated a chair at the dining room table for me to sit in. I moved to a chair at the dusty table, and he produced a vise to lock my arm in place on the table while he worked. I couldn't believe I was doing this, but if it gave me the ability to avoid the truth seekers, it would be worth it. My right arm was immobilized, and Cinna placed a large jar of green liquid on the table. Oh, damn, enjoy KFC. I've had that once in the UK. Not a fan. But that might just be the UK. The etcher took the jar, and I noticed the skin on his head was translucent gray. Deep blue veins ran beneath. I started to get a bad feeling and thought of changing my mind. He rubbed a thick green mucus on the forearm, and it immediately took effect, absorbing into the skin. The toxin not only affected my arm, but my entire body. I tried to fight the effects, but I slowly slumped in the chair as I lost control of my body. That was a large dose, Cinna commented as the etcher strapped my body and head to remain upright. He didn't respond to Cinna's comment. I realized the man had not used gloves, so he was immune to the toxin. Oh. The etcher sat to do his work on my right arm. He stabbed deeply and pulled his dagger along the flesh, opening my forearm. I jerked reflexively with each cut as he worked to expose the bone. He paused, slightly surprised I moved. He looked back at Cinna, who was out of my sight line. He has a strong constitution. He lathered some more green mucus until he was satisfied I was immobilized. My eyes were half closed, but I could still see him work. He cleaned a 6-inch section of bone and produced a large runic stylus. He began making intricate runic marks on the bone with a practiced hand, leaving a thin trail of silvery metal embedded in the bone. The smell of cooking flesh reached my nose. I may have jumped into this a little quickly. What guarantees did I have that they were doing what they said they were doing? Maybe this was a slave branding. Oh my god. It was hard to resist my instinct to channel my ether to heal myself. He worked rapidly, but doing the first arm took over an hour to apply the intricate patterns. During the procedure, he paused to administer more green toxin when my muscles twitched. When he finished, he folded the flesh and muscle back down and poured a healing potion into the wound. The wound closed rapidly, and a thin but rapidly fading scar soon remained. I could feel the pattern of the spell form itching under the flesh, but maybe that was just because I knew it was there. The second arm proceeded much as the first, and the masked man spoke in a flat tone while working on the second arm. This spell form utilizes the natural flow of ether in your body. It counters the spell form of a truth seeker. They will perceive everything you say as being truthful. Be careful how you speak. Do not get caught by saying something when your interrogators know it to be false. His dry voice rasped. He finished the second arm and closed the wound with the rest of the healing potion. Relieved, I released my hold on my instincts to heal myself. There was not much healing to be done, as he had used a powerful potion. Yet still, it was like scratching an itch. Firth. I was still immobile and found my healing spell could not affect the etchings on my bone, and the foreign etchings continued to itch. The man was sitting up Castile and commented in his flat tone. It is permanent and now part of you. It will always itch, but you will learn to ignore it with time. If your bone shatters and is healed, it will be reformed. The only way to remove it is to extract the entire bone. You need the inscriptions on both arms for the effect to work, so don't lose an arm. His delivery was flat, but I was fairly certain he was making a joke. I had some control over my mouth and slurred. I will do my best to remain fully armed. However, my quip came out gibberish because my tongue hadn't worked properly yet. My fingers twitched as the toxin started to fade, and I slowly regained movement. Castile was starting her own treatment, and the bone etcher seemed to have more difficulty with the smaller available surface, having to wrap the spell forms around the bone, twisting her arm unnaturally to work. Cinna undid the straps holding my body to the chair. By the time he finished with Castile, I had regained my movement and found I had drooled extensively on the front of my armor. Ja. Kom. Cooperate with me. It's so fucking frustrating. You have to. You have to. I don't like this game. It's not a fun game. It. Oh. Ja, Now you have to sit in my lap so you don't go and shit somewhere. I thought you would last longer than this. But apparently not. Apparently not. Now let me get my headset. Wait. Oh. Okay, which chapter are we even on? I think we can make it. Yeah, it's okay. He will just be in the lab. Finally caught her. Okay. By the time I finished with Castile, I had regained my movement and found I had drooled extensively on the front of my armor. My eyes had teared considerably from the crusty salt on my face. Even though I had felt nothing, my body had reacted during the surgery. My tear ducts working overtime and my salivary glands reacting to the smell of burning meat. Castile was experiencing the same as her eyes dribbled tears, and her mouth foamed slightly and dribbled down her chin, mixing with her tears. The etcher stood after Castile was healed. It is finished. Lie to me, he instructed us. You have an incredible bedside manner, I stated. A tingly feeling, like electric sparks, danced under my arms. Apparently, an added benefit of the etching was that I was aware of someone using a truth spell on me. Truth, he stated, not commenting on my joke. He turned to Castile, who was still recovering. He waited until she could speak. I enjoyed that, she spat out in the twisted words as she tried to gain control of her tongue. Truth, the etcher stated. Packed up his tools without further comment. He exited the room, leaving Castile, Cinna, and myself alone. Damn. That was crazy, but okay. Damn, that's pretty cool though. Very good. Oh, good. One more chapter you can survive. Chapter 185. Separation Anxiety. I flexed my forearms, feeling them. They felt tight and a little hot on top of my other channel burn. Castile was scratching her own arms, which relieved me. I wasn't the only one feeling the after effects. I looked at the two mages. What now? High Mage Cinna began cleaning the table, gathering up the jar of toxins. Nothing, Cinna sighed. Castile will continue to do her duty, and you will serve as my bodyguard. Antonia will advance the plan when the opportunity arises. I looked to Castile worriedly. What about Mavieth? Can he join me here? Oh, no, Mavieth. Castile deferred to Cinna with a glance. Cinna shook her head. No, a Goliath would not be allowed in the college grounds. It is best he stays with the company or returns home. I was torn and felt guilty. I had told the Goliath I would join him on his trip home to Stone Mountain Island to confess to his father. He didn't need me to make the trek, but still. I should go tell him I am not returning, I decided. I also wanted to gather my things. The summoner's gear was also in my pack. Castile denied my request. No, you're not leaving the Mage College grounds unless Chancellor Cinna is with you. If you walk the city alone, Boris will target you. He most likely has people watching the gates of the college. Seeing my consternation, Cinna smiled reassuringly at me. I could use a walk. Eric needs to gather his possessions at the Legion Hall as well. Soon I was escorting the two mages through the city, back to the Eastern Legion Hall. I led the procession, but it was unnecessary as the Chancellor's robe parted the press of people as we walked. Are they afraid of you? I asked Cinna quietly. Yes, the Chancellors are hands of the Emperor. We carry his authority and can administer justice on the spot without a trial. There have been a number of unscrupulous and cruel chancellors in the past. I doubt many recognize me, and they just know the robes of my office. We will need to get you some proper polished steel legionnaire armor. If you are to guard my person, your common legionnaire armor won't do. I couldn't tell if Cinna was serious or attempting humor. I looked at her imperious walk and stoic expression and decided it was the former. I was fine with it. as my current reclaimed armor rubbed in all the wrong places. We entered the Legion Hall to find the entire company in the courtyard, ready to march. Adrian split from the men, a relieved expression on his face seeing us. We were ready. What happened? His gaze kept drifting back to Chancellor Cinna and then to me. Castile couldn't hide a smirk. Eric managed to evade the first citizen's wrath and came out better than he went in. Adrian's eyebrows danced and he shook his head. Jupiter's mercy. I owe Benito a silver. Eric, you must have the fates dancing to your tune of sharing Fortuna's bed. Castile indicated to Cinna. He will be attending to Chancellor High Mage Cinna for the foreseeable future at the Mage College. Adrian looked a little shocked and whispered to himself. Fortuna's bed it is. He nodded and turned to face the men to explain. It looked like they had been ready to respond on my behalf, which would have ended poorly for all of them. I don't think I ever had such companions before. Adrian bellowed for all to hear. Eric is safe and moving on from our lowly company to live in luxury at the Mage College. The men relaxed. Benito was the happiest of the group, his head looking around, probably looking to collect coin from those he had bet about my fate. Adrian continued. Everyone is free for the next 3 days except for 2 hours of weapons practice at sunrise. Happy grunts and smiling faces spread among the men. Adrian gave the company a mild warning. Don't get in too much trouble. See Linus for your bonus silver. I knew he was referring to the silver from the reward chests in the dungeon. Adrian turned to me, extending his arm, and we clasped wrists. He smiled. I hope this is not the last time we see each other, Eric. Don't drop your shield arm when circling an opponent to the right, and stop consorting with so many vile beasts. One of these days, one will take advantage of your generous nature. Thank you for teaching me your leadership skills, Adrian. I released his grip, and the men swarmed me to say their goodbyes. It all felt too sudden, but it was the course for men in the Legion, and it was not like I was being buried today. We had been through so much together in less than 6 months. The Griffin Hunt, the Siege of Matcha, the Shimmering Labyrinth, and then defying the Elven Summoner. It felt wrong to leave them and hide away in the safety of Mage College. A few men patted me on the back, a few clasped wrists, and a few hugged me, our abused armor scraping together. Benito smiled, hugging me. Another 7 silver! You are my lucky charm, Eric. He winked. I keep telling them never to bet against you. The last man was Maviet. The tall Goliath looked morose and clapped me on the back harder than he needed to. Thank you for interesting times, Eric. Castile and the others had drifted away to give us privacy. You can remain with the company, Maviet, or you can return to Stone Mountain Island to reconcile with your father, I told the Goliath. I added impulsively, if you wait, when I finish my Legion service, I will go with you. I was starting to think my service may end sooner than the 4.5 years I had left. If the conspiracy were successful, I would be released, and if it were not, I would likely be released in death. Maviet considered and looked at the men disappearing with a handful of large, shiny silver dungeon coins. I will remain with the company for now. Most are good men. Glad to hear it. If you need anything, ask. How much silver do you need from the Shimmering Labyrinth? I asked, wanting to give him a share of what we earned together. I wanted to show how valuable his companionship and loyalty had been to me, and I planned to double whatever he said. None at the moment. He rested his hand on the head of his maul. I noticed it had been rubbed with charcoal to cover up its lusters. The hammer is fair compensation for now. His deep voice rumbled as he affectionately caressed the head. I nodded in acceptance, but was disappointed. If you get back to Sorbo before me, check in on Ginger for me. Maviet nodded, knowing I cared for the Mount's well-being. High Mage Cinna approached us, and it looked like we were leaving. She had shown patience for a lowly legionnaire, but I was sure her time was valuable. We need to return. Gather your things. I nodded to her and walked up to the bunk room. Armor was tossed haphazardly on bunks as men rushed to change and head out into the city to spend their coin. I found my pack where I had left it and caught Brutus sneaking out a side door. Our friendship had been strained since we were separated entering the Shimmering Labyrinth. He had spent a lot of time with Flavius in the dungeon, which may have also jaded his opinion of me. He was going to like me even less in a minute. Brutus, I'm going to need the other runic black blade. He froze, and I could tell he had hoped I had forgotten. A runic weapon was worth about what a legionnaire made in a lifetime. Far too much for me to part with having an uncertain future. He turned slowly, his eyes betraying his reluctance. If I returned the weapon, I would be the only one in the company without a runic blade. Could I just hold on to it for you? I weighed my frayed friendship with Brutus against my needs. I didn't need the blade as a weapon, but it represented a fair amount of coin. There was also the strong possibility I might never see Brutus again. No, I do need it back. I'm not sure where my travels will take me. Brutus's face contorted briefly before he went and retrieved the sheathed blade and pressed it forcefully into my outstretched arm. He didn't talk as he left the room, clearly unhappy. I felt some guilt, but I was sure he would have done the same in my position. Maybe it helped me gather my things, and soon I was back with High Mage Cinna in the courtyard of the Legion Hall. That makes me sad. The Brutus, oh, I don't like that. Castile was gone, but I could tell she was much happier knowing she could trick a truth seeker. I walked next to Cinna as we started to return to Mage College. What will my duties be? I asked, and quickly added respectfully, Chancellor High Mage Cinna? She smirked. Just Cinna is acceptable when we are in private. I teach battle magic on Tuesday and Thursday mornings, sometimes on the Demeter field instead of the classroom. You will join me for that once you get your armor. I teach fire magic in classroom 7 on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning. You can stand guard over the classroom door for the class. I looked over, and she did not seem to be joking. A number of the Imperial Legionnaires stood guard for hours every day. So now we will meet the... Oh, fuck is her name? It's not Aurelia, because that's the elf. But it's something with an R that sounds like Aurelia. I don't remember. But the young mage. Something. How long are the classes? I inquired to prepare myself mentally for a very boring duty. Each one is 3 hours long, but the rest of the time is yours to do with as you will. That is, unless I need a guard escort to meet the emperor or a noble in the city. I would gladly stand like a statue for 3 hours if that meant I would have the rest of the time to myself. I would be nervous if I had to meet the emperor, as he might uncover my origins. Seeing my excitement, Cinna put a damper on my potential freedom. You should remain in my suite. Castile is right that the first citizens still will seek vengeance against you if you wander the city. When Cornelius informs me and the hounds are ready to receive you, I will send you to his care. I had conveniently forgotten about that. I was going to be trained as a hound. That made me nervous as well. Less so now that I could evade the truth seekers. I thought the hounds didn't take foreigners into their ranks. At least that is what Constantine had said. Or did he say the Praetorian Guard didn't take foreigners? I couldn't recall. Me neither. It is rare but not unheard of. It is one of the reasons Antonia called on the bone inscriber. We have a number of people within the hounds. You will just need patience, Cinna noted softly. Will I be collecting your blood samples as well from the archives? I asked after a few minutes of thought. She frowned and made to educate me. Do not talk so freely in the streets, Eric. I have us shielded, but that will not always be the case. We can converse openly in my apartments, but consider all other locations off limits unless I initiate the topic. That's crazy that he's like, oh, do I have to collect your blood from the archive right out on the street? That's insane, Eric. I could see the amount of faith she was placing in me. If the conspiracy were exposed, she would be executed with the other traitors. We reached the tower and again climbed the stairs to the dusty sitting room. I followed Cinna into a side door, revealing a dust-filled bedroom. She patted the bed, and a cloud of dust blossomed above the strike. It has been a while. I wish I knew a reliable void mage to clean the dust. Instead, I will have to order all new linens. She sighed and sat on the bed anyway, adding dust to the air. This entire floor is my suite. We are on the top floor of the War Mage Tower. A few instructors should be quartered on the floors below this one, but the floors have been soundproofed. Is the War College different from the Mage College? I asked while walking around the room. The War College is one of the 4 schools at the Mage College. The other 3 are recruitment, research, and application. The recruitment college is responsible for finding new mages and teaching mage aspirants how to cast proper spells. If they succeed, they move on to one of the 3 other schools. The combat school is the war college, she said, holding up both hands and indicating our area. The research school is responsible for the advancement of magical knowledge in the Empire and trains artificers, alchemists, and researchers. The final school is called Application School. These are mages applying their magic for construction, healing, weather forecasting, and control, or any number of applications outside of combat. Suna finished. She stood, adding more dust to the air, and I held back a sneeze. Remain on this floor for now. Do not talk to anyone. She cracked another knowing smile. I will get an Imperial armor smith to measure you for proper armor. Find some mage aspirants to clean the room and order new linens. She indicated other doors. There are a number of servants in guest rooms. Find one and make yourself comfortable. I could see her mind working as she left the room. When the door closed, a heavy silence fell on me. My armor groaned as I turned slowly and started to explore my new temporary home. Exciting! So many exciting new things. Oh my god. Shit is starting to hit the fan and getting real. I wonder how long we will be here. I mean, since the book is named like The Hounds, so of course it will be majority the Hounds, I would assume. But it's like a few chapters we have to be here. And we have to meet her. The person. Whatever her name was. Renna? Was it Renna? It's Renna, right? I think it was Renna. Yeah, Renna and Relia. We will meet Renna. If that was her name. And I hope we meet Renna next time. These chapters were very good. It was a very good start to the new book. What do you think, Poppy? Did you like him? Oh. Very good. Okay then. Since Poppy has been very much telling me I want to go outies, I have to go outies. Yeah. Oh, thank you. I wish I could have a camera on her all the time, but alas. Maybe one day. One day, hopefully. Okay, one more time. Thank you so much for joining and watching the stream and reading along with me. Yeah. I'm getting distracted by petting Poppy. Yeah. Thanks so much. It was fun. Great to be on the 4th book. A bit scared that we're catching up, but yeah. We will see what will happen whenever we do that. Do I find something to read during the time, or do we just play games? I don't fucking know. We will see when that time gets nearer, I guess. Feel free to follow me on places, Smallness. Join the Discord where announcements are made and stuff like that. Instagram for more Willow content. And I hope you have a nice rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Hopefully tomorrow, even though it's Wednesday. Maybe. We will see. But okay. Hey do! Bye.